The first question is, what is lesson can you learn from Japanese farming technologies? The technology that used by Japan is simple method and also easy maintenance, as the Japanese are careful with space, resources, time, and returns. We also know that Japan very updated with the technology in all industry. Use the solar power in the house can reduce usage of electricity. Next, the technology are highly automated in the warehouse. It will lessen the need of operator but more needed skilled technical worker since Atop is highly technology driven business. The second question is, what capital budgeting technique should have Azlan carry out in order to facilitate decision making in the business? In order for Azlan to facilitate decision making in his business, Azlan should apply net present value capital budgeting techniques. NPV is the most intuitive and accurate valuation approach. NPV also is the result of calculation used to find today's value of future stream of payment other than to analyze the profitability of a project. Using the weighted average cost of capital to discount the after-tax cash flow, analyze whether or not a project is profitable. According to the NPV rules, all projects with a positive net present value should be accepted. Thus, in order for Azlan to make decision making based on NPV, if the project have a positive NPV, Azlan should consider the project because it may generate profit to Atop. But if the NPV is negative, Azlan should discard since it may not profitable to the company. Besides, Azlan also can apply profitability index in his decision-making process. PI also can be useful because it helps in evaluating whether to proceed with a project or not. The profit potential of the chosen project will be calculated by the PI. So, if the PI is greater than 1, it suggests that the project should be pursued because the project should be profitable. And if the ratio is less than 1, indicate that the project should be abandoned.
Next, question number 3. Is farming seen to be traditional and conservative? What new ideas can you assess in this case? So, farming is still considered a traditional and conservative practice by a big portion of the world's population, although it has transformed into more innovative and technology-driven practice in recent years. Farmers are using more inventive and systematic farming tools and methods for growth and development as a result of the evolution of multiple farming techniques. Traditional and conservative farming methods are vanishing because of the evolution of numerous farming techniques. As we saw in the case of Azlan, there are many new ideas that can be evaluated for the farming business. For example, one of the innovative farming techniques is the Japanese technique of growing organic vegetables, and another advancement in the field of farming is the diversification of the farming business into an online selling business. Number 4. How do you think the supply chain expanded into an online business can improve the performance of Atop? So, Atop made a wise move by entering the field of e-commerce because online vegetable sales will benefit the company in a variety of ways, including reaching a larger number of customers in less time and allowing them to buy organic veggies from the comfort of their own homes. This will boost the business worth and make Atop famous because of the innovation supplied to Atop. Furthermore, it is an unique approach that will help the company by cutting the initial and ongoing expenses of selling vegetables, increasing scalability, increasing margins, and removing time restriction for customers. All of these advantages will help Atop in performance evaluations and will benefit the company in the long term. In addition to offline sales, online sales will greatly increase cash inflows due to the ease of doing business and the ability to reach a large number of customers.
What other innovation would you advise Azlan to consider in order to diversify his business? Firstly is bee vectoring. This technique was developed by a business in Canada and it aids in disease management as well as pest control. Vectorite, a naturally occurring fungus, is used in the technology to protect crops from a number of illnesses. The Vectorite solution is placed within a hive of commercially grown bees, and when the bees leave the hive, they gather the solution. The solution is subsequently spread throughout the surrounding crop and filled by the bees. Aside from improved disease resistance, the technique also boosts plant growth and naturally extends crop shelf life. Next is laser scarecrows. Birds are kept away using this technology. In the daylight, the laser scarecrow emits green laser light that people cannot see. Because the birds are colorblind, they are very effective. The automatic laser darts across field up to 600 feet, effectively scaring birds away from any crops. They are less damaging to the environment and require less effort to produce. Next, what do you think of the prospect of Atop in the long run? In the agriculture industry, Atop might be a bridge between Malaysia and Japan. Next, Atop engaged with the government to educate new farmers who are keen to learn agricultural technologies. After that, Atop will also have the opportunity to engage with Japan and broaden its capabilities in other technology and innovation related fields.
Okay, next question 7. On the Japanese below market offer, what are your thoughts of having to operate a multinational company and in Japan in terms of priority for Azlan MEG? Okay, running a multinational corporation is very difficult. However, with appropriate planning and solid administration, the company may be able to endurance. Many MNC have faced barrier to reach their current position. In this situation, they may be operating at a loss as a result of needing to service the interest, loan, and unpaid overheads. There are other issues to be resolved that will not assist them in the short term. There are several standards for local orders that must be met, and complete this requirement would cost more than intended. Okay, therefore, the below market offer appears to be a decent offer for this to accept if they intend to run the firm for a long time. It would be an excellent chance for them to build and extend their business on a global scale. While launching a business in a foreign nation, they may be risk and headless. These include local competitiveness, culture variations, and a variety of other aspects to consider. Furthermore, based on Azlan's skill and performance throughout the year, Atop has a better success of chance. In addition, their children display an interest in the company. The youngsters are quite computer literate, which will come in handy, especially in Japan, where the technology is very sophisticated. It is much better because Miji is Japan. This is because it is critical to incorporate someone with local knowledge from the start. That's because it is critical to incorporate with someone with local experience from the start since they know what the people desire the best. Okay, next question 8. What are the risks of diversifying a business and having to operate an MNC away from home? Okay, the risk of business diversification. Okay, the first one is inadequate fund and inability to focus. A poorly managed expansion or intention action can lead to a corporation excessively into two new many directions at once. Okay, in such circumstances, the entity's new and the existing sector will suffer owing to a lack of resource and attention. A given section may confront a lack of resource because resource must be shared with the other segments. Okay, the second risk is limitation on the entity's expansion. A multinational firm will suffer as a result of its restricted investment in the specialized area. As a result, the diversity affect an entity's development potential. Okay, the third one is inability to react rapidly to market developments. As a new sector emerge, business are unable to adapt rapidly. The emphasis and operation will be restricted. Okay, the risk of operating MNC away from home. Okay, the first one is changes in exchange rate. Okay, the exchange rate between currencies fluctuates continuously, whether due to economic insecurity or diplomatic problem. These erratic changes can obliterate economic gains in a couple of days. In international organizations, risk management may entail addressing a variety of issues. Managing risk in international organizations may entail handling multiple elements in ways that are not possible at home. Okay, the second one is political uncertainty. The political situation of a particular nation and a geographical area can have a significant impact on an MNC capacity to do business in that country or location. Elections, diplomatic agreement, regulatory changes, and labor strike may all have a significant influence on the market. And the last one is domestic conflict. It is difficult to persuade buyers to trust a foreign brand when a similar product from a well-known local brand is also accessible. Local business have an additional advantages over large corporations since they have greater access to market knowledge and business prospect due to their social and business link.
Bursa listing requirements for Malaysia are divided into three types of market. First, the main market. The company should have total market capitalization of at least 500 million ringgit upon listing. Next, the organization should have incorporated and generated operating revenue for at least one full fiscal years prior to submission. At the time of listing, Bumiputra investor will get 50% of the public spread requirement. Uninterrupted profit of 3 to 5 full financial years with aggregate after-tax profit of at least 20 million ringgit and a minimum of 6 million ringgit profit after tax in the latest full financial year. At least 25% of the company's total numbers of shares and a minimum of 1,000 public shareholders holding not less than 100 shares. Next is the ACE market, which stands for Access, Certainty and Efficiency. It is actually the new name for the formerly known MASDAQ, Malaysian Exchange of Securities Dealing and Automated Quotation Market. In ACE market, there are no minimum operating track record or profit requirement. At least 25% of the company's total number of shares and a minimum of 200 public shareholders holding not less than 100 shares each. For Bumiputra equity requirement, there is no such requirement for ACE market companies upon initial listing. However, the companies are required to allocate at its best effort basis to allocated 20.5% of its enlarged issued and paid up share capital to investors of Bumiputra status. Lastly is the LEAP or LEAP market, known as Leading Entrepreneur Accelerator Platform Market. This market have a quite similarity with the ACE market as there are also no minimum operating track record or profit requirement needed. At least 10% of the company's total number of ordinary shares at admission and no requirement at the point of listing for Bumiputra equity requirement. Operating a multinational corporations will definitely complicate the financial reporting to Bursa Malaysia since there are huge differences in every country involved for a multinational company. Firstly, the differences in accounting practice. In Malaysia, we use MFRS as the accounting standard, which is equivalent to IFRS. In Japan, they use Japanese GAAP. There are also some big differences between them. So, for a multinational company in both countries, it will need two sets of statements, one GAAP and one IFRS. Secondly, different local regulations for every country. Regulations and rules are vary from one country to another. It will have a huge impact on accounting and even the profitability of a company which operates in different countries. Moreover, companies also need to be adaptable to frequent changes in these regulations that must be. Third, Multinational companies don't always leave their profits locally. Profits earned by the company tend to be repatriated for use in other areas. Large multinational companies are likely to repatriate profits back to their home country, leaving little financial benefits for the host country. Lastly is the transfer pricing. Multinational companies will always aim to reduce their tax liability to a minimum, so they use transfer pricing strategy to reduce their tax liability in countries with high tax rates and increase them in the countries with low tax rates. However, the company should always be aware that transfer pricing has strict guidelines and is closely watched by the tax authorities in every country. If the transfer value is done incorrectly or inappropriately, the financial statements may need to be restated and fees or penalties could be charged.
Question number 11. Should BWIT offer to buy out the joint business completely for it to be 100% owned by BWIT? What would be your advice? So, I would encourage BWIT to remain a part owner with Atop rather than purchasing the company entirely. This is because there are numerous advantages to BWIT remaining as joint owners with Atop rather than owning Doraemon totally. If BWIT controlled the warehouse completely, they would be responsible for all of the warehouse debts, loans, and outstanding overheads. Even the warehouse would benefit BWIT in the long run. Paying off all the loans will be difficult, especially at this moment when the economy is shaky. However, if BWIT and Atop continue to be joint owner, the burden will be shared evenly. Aside from that, BWIT will make more money if he stays as a joint owner of Doraemon, because Atop will have to repay BWIT financial incentive, including interest. BWIT will profit from both Doraemon's and Atop's revenue. If they held the warehouse outright, they have to pay Atop to have the shares transferred to them. In addition, the current economic instability brought on by the COVID-19 outbreak causes business to move slowly and the exchange rate to vary frequently. As a result, if BWIT owned and operated by the company alone, they would not generate nearly as much income.